Hi, I'm extremely grateful to the organizers for the opportunity. I would like to talk about my experience, uh, especially the predictions for the future in healthcare. 100 years from now, if somebody is going to write the history of evolution of healthcare, there will be two chapters. First one was BC, second is about AC. BC is before COVID and AC is after COVID. Everything what we do in healthcare will undergo dramatic change. And I will try to give you a glimpse of what those changes are about. First thing, I would like all of you to know that healthcare industry is the largest industry in the world. It's more than $8.5 trillion industry compared to IT, which is $3.5 trillion. Automobile is $2 trillion. Oil and natural gas is $2 trillion. We spend less money for food. Agro industry is only $8 trillion. Healthcare is 8.5, $8.6 trillion. But the sad thing is, even if after spending $8.5 trillion, less than 20% of the world's population has access to safe, affordable, accessible, secondary, tertiary level healthcare. This is pitiable. Now, is it going to remain the same? No, it is going to be disrupted. And I am optimistic and I'm hopeful that within the next 5 to 10 years' time, India will become the first country in the world to dissociate healthcare from affluence. India will prove to the world that the wealth of the nation has nothing to do with the quality of healthcare its citizens are going to enjoy. Now, some of the glimpses I have is about, I predict that smart software, electronic medical record, will make smarter diagnosis than doctors in the next few years. And it will become legally mandatory for the doctors to get the second opinion from the software before starting the treatment within maybe 7 years' time. I'm giving this 5-year, 7-year time frame. I know it's going to happen much earlier than that, and some of that has happened. I'm giving that long time frame because I do not want my professional colleagues to shoot me down. But it is going to happen, it's inevitable. It will become mandatory that we use those technologies. I'll give an example. The Chief Justice of Uttarakhand High Court 5 years ago mandated that in the state of Uttarakhand, no doctor can prescribe on a paper. All prescriptions should be on a digital format. Now, unfortunately, they couldn't implement it because there was no digital tool available. All I am trying to say is that this is the way things are going to change. Now, why digitization is important? Digitization will make healthcare safer for the patient. Healthcare, you may think that hospitals are very safe places for the patients. It is not. If 200 patients get admitted to American hospitals, some of the safest hospitals on the planet, 1 in 200 dies due to medical error, not medical negligence. Getting admitted to an American hospital is 10 times riskier than skydiving. Why healthcare is not that safe, especially in the hospital? Mainly because all the sick people are in one building and there is no implementation of the process, protocol, and all their strategies of managing particular disease, because as doctors, we all have our own style of treating patients. I'll give you a simple comparison. When you admit one of your loved ones to a hospital, you always want to know which doctor is going to take care of my patient. Whereas when you board a plane, you never ask which pilot is going to fly the plane, what is his experience, because we take for granted that everybody knows what they're supposed to do. Yes, they know, because irrespective of the experience, no pilot can have his own style of flying the plane. they have to fly the plane in the same manner and record everything what they did, so that in case of something going wrong, there is a record to know what went wrong. But that doesn't happen in healthcare industry across the world, because nearly 80% of the hospitals in this world do not have electronic medical records. Some of the developed countries do not have electronic medical records. So why electronic medical records are not available in developing country like ours is mainly because of the high cost. Now, if you pay high cost, will you get a fantastic electronic medical record? No. Some of the billion-dollar electronic medical records of the United States of America are one of the top causes of physician burnout. Physicians hate the electronic medical record, but they have no choice. They have to use it. Why they hate it? Because doctors have their own strengths and weaknesses. And electronic medical records, when they were designed 20, 30 years ago, and the tools what are available today are dramatically different. Doctors are used to the beautiful experience we get in these modern smartphones, but we don't have the same experience in using the electronic medical record, fundamentally because as doctors, it is not a good experience to keep typing when the patient is talking to us. We would like to connect to the patient's eyes. We want to talk to the patient. We want to understand what they're talking about. So essentially, if you are designing electronic medical record for the doctors, please do not have keyboard. It has to work on tab. Because doctors are not designed by God to type. This is the reality. And we do not want to attend any instruction classes how to use the EMR. It has to be intuitive. If every industry has produced intuitive EMR, why can't electronic medical records be? And this is a great opportunity for all the young budding engineers, software engineers to create. The next important thing when you are designing the electronic medical records is that please design all the electronic medical records for the mobile platform. This is very, very important. Now, I will give you an example why this is important. We designed our EMR for the mobile phone. 4 years ago, I would have never thought we will take decisions to treat patients with the chest X-ray shown in the mobile phone. Today, the moment the chest X-ray is done, it appears in the mobile phone. We look at it and we take major decisions on the patient care based on the image what we see in the mobile phone. Any image can be seen in a mobile phone if the software is designed for the mobile phone. And other important clue I just want to let you know, her patient condition keeps changing, and doctors across the world look at their desktop 5 to 6 times in a day, but they look at their mobile phone 200 times in a day. So if you want doctor's attention about a patient who's in the ICU or in the operating room, design everything for the mobile phone. They will act on it very, very fast. Like every day, I go to bed around 11 o'clock. Before I go to bed, I finish the ICU rounds. Because entire data of the patient, including the live cardiac monitor, I can see in my mobile phone. I'm up by 4:30 in the morning. First thing I do is to finish the ICU rounds. I don't go to ICU anymore. Now, one may ask, what about the touch? We have a policy that doctors in the ICU shouldn't touch the patient, because only the doctors who are supposed to do a procedure on the ICU patient should touch the patient. If you are not doing the procedure, don't touch the patient, because if you touch the patient, you may give him some dreadful infection. So essentially, the concept of touch, however important it is, doesn't add to the patient's care. I am a very strong proponent of the touch that is meaningful in the outpatient when we are talking to the patient, but not in the ICU when the patient is on a ventilator. Now, in what way hospital will be different? I can tell you within the next 3-4 years' time, when you enter the hospital reception, there will be a reception without receptionist. Whatever job receptionist normally do would have been done previous night, you at home in your drawing room and the receptionist at home. She or he will get all the information about you when you are resting at home and the receptionist at home. So that when you come to the hospital, in your mobile phone, you are told to visit room number XYZ, whatever, at that particular time. And the doctor is ready there, and doctor has every information about you because all the data from you would have come to the hospital, and doctor is well prepared. And instead of him asking, what is your problem? He will be only telling you your medical history, looking at your inputs to add to the story what he has. That will be a phenomenal experience for the patient to meet a doctor who already knows everything about the patient before even patient has walked into the office. Then, when you reach the ICU to see one of your relatives, you'll be shocked. There will not be intensivist. There will be intensive care unit without intensivist. There will be few doctors who are trained to do certain procedures like ventilation or connecting the patient on a ventilator, putting the arterial line, central line, only few of them. All these senior intensivists will be at home. Why this is important? To optimize the ICU care, it is better the intensivist is at home. I'll explain to you why. Today, in India, US, Europe, a patient in the ICU gets the best care only between 9 to 5. 8 hours, they get the best care when all the senior intensivists are there. 16 hours in a day, patients get suboptimal care. They are taken care by either junior doctors or junior nurses, because you don't expect a senior intensivist of my age to be doing the night duty, staying myself up whole night. It is not possible. Doctors will get burnt out. Whereas that 16 hours, if you split it into 4-hour slots and intensivists work from home intensely for 4 hours, during which time they can see the patient in the TV or their laptop, they can talk to the patient, they can talk to the nurses, doctors there, whoever is there. They have all the real-time data of everything happening in your body with analytical tool saying that there is 2% possibility that this patient has a chance of getting a cardiac arrest, or 50% possibility he may develop a cardiac arrest within the next 24 hours. Then those patients will be put up in a critical area where there are senior nurses and there is constant monitoring. So when we do this, doctors will be happy because they get to stay at home and do the critical work of managing ICU. They don't get tired because they work only for 4 hours at night and they do the regular duty during the daytime. So intensive care specialty as such will become attractive for the talented doctors, and then patient will get the best care. This is just a glimpse of what can happen. And in the hospital today, we got hundreds of girls and boys running around, taking the blood sample from point A to point B, getting some material from the store, IV fluid or antibiotic or whatever, running around the ICU and the hospital. And soon you will find none of them will be there. There will be very, very inexpensive robot which will go on from one bed to the other or one point of hospital to the other. And these are the transformation which will happen. And I can tell you that within the next 1 or 2 years' time, any problem you have, first-time consultation will happen online with you sitting in your drawing room and the doctor sitting in his clinic or home or a farmhouse, wherever, and they will give you the opinion. That is going to happen. In the process, Every disease will get diagnosed at a very early stage. So we can cure cancer, we can virtually prevent any heart attack. All this will happen if the patient consults the doctors online at a very early stage. All this transformation to happen, we need a digital platform. And believe me, my bet is that Uber doesn't own cars. Airbnb doesn't own hotel rooms. Facebook doesn't create contents. Alibaba has no inventory. And the world's largest healthcare provider will have no bets. It is going to be a software. And you have an opportunity to create the software. Thank you very much for the opportunity and good luck and God bless.